For as long as I can remember, I have tried to control basically every aspect of my life. Any time that I have faced uncertainty, I have immediately developed a plan to mitigate it. I am not sure where my innate need to control life comes from, but it is something that I have learned to cope with. In all honesty, deciding to go study abroad was one of the most spontaneous things that I have ever done. I hardly did any research on Prague before deciding to go there, and when I arrived, I drove straight into a control freak's worst nightmare. I didn't know what to expect day to day, nonetheless from my experience overall. I felt anxious and had dreadful thoughts of what I had gotten myself into crossing my mind. As control shock overwhelmed me, I turned to planning to comfort myself. I scheduled out the hours in the day and perfected a strict travel itinerary within my first week there. I felt isolated and overwhelmed, but did my best to structure my time and lessen these feelings. On our first free weekend, my friends and I decided to go on a last-minute trip to Vienna. Within 20 minutes of the idea being brought up, we had bought train tickets and booked an Airbnb. By all accounts, this was not something that we had planned for. We had little time to research what we wanted to do or plan the details of the trip. With little more than our backpacks, we departed Prague. I had to let go of my plans and expectations and again immerse myself within a brand new culture. We made a point to try various new foods, see the most noteworthy parts of the city, and deepen our bond as friends. We walked over 10 miles each day and truly fit everything imaginable into our schedule. Remarkably, this trip ended up being one of the most valuable parts of my abroad experience. I went on to enjoy many planned trips, but never lost sight of how amazing our last-minute trip was. My last weekend abroad was spent in Barcelona. I went to a music festival with friends and enjoyed the weather and the beach. In a very uncharacteristic move, I purposely missed my 7 a.m. flight that Sunday. Because of that split-second decision, I got to enjoy an additional day of culture, food, and time with the people I love. In one short weekend, I made lifelong memories with the closest people in my life and got to experience a culture that I may never get to again. I didn't know it at the time, but my abroad experience was soon going to be cut short. Within 3 days of getting back from that trip, I found myself on a plane home to America because of coronavirus. I would never have guessed that it would be my last abroad adventure, and I feel so lucky that I made the most of it. These spontaneous moments in my abroad experience taught me the power of letting go, which is something that I was not exactly accustomed to before. Usually, I would have tried to control all of these things and stuck to my initial schedule, but in this instance, I decided not to. In many ways, it even lessened the negative parts of the culture shock process for me. I learned to let go of my expectations of what a culture, a place, and life in general should look like or be like, and to accept it for the beautiful way that it is on its own. When you let go of a plan, you may end up with something even better than you could have imagined, and I think that is the greatest lesson that I learned abroad.